Palace Press Officer Claire Castro asserts that these allegations are false, citing NSC Assistant Director General Jonathan Malaya. She confirms that the Interagency Maritime Operations successfully conducted visits to Pagasa's Pagasa Case 1, 2, and 3 and other surrounding waters just yesterday. For her part, Senator Risa Ontiveros criticized China for staging a photo shoot gimmick at Sandy Cay, saying no self-respecting state would recognize such a spectacle as a legitimate claim.
British Columbia, Canada resident Kaiji Adam Lowe has been charged with 8 counts of second-degree murder. That's after allegedly ramming a crowd at a Filipino Heritage Festival in Vancouver over the weekend. The incident left 11 people dead and about 24 others injured, some of whom are still in critical condition. Lowe was arrested at the scene and made a video court appearance. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney visited the site before today's federal election. In the latest survey, Senator Bongo and Congressman Erwin Tulfo are still leading in the latest Okta Tugon ng Masa 2025 pre-election survey. 10 other members from the administration's Alianza para sa Bagong Pilipinas are included in the list. Former Senators Bam Aquino and Kiko Pangilinan also made it to the so-called winner's circle. The survey was conducted between April 10 and 16 among 1,200 voters.
Former Vice President Leni Robredo clarifies a video where she introduced Sagip Congressman Rodante Marcoleta as a senator in a gathering in Naga, Camarines Norte. Robredo said, and we quote, "There is so much more than meets the eye." Marcoleta, who is running for senator, has previously criticized Robredo and is a known ally of former President Duterte. Robredo recently faced backlash for endorsing Senatorial candidates Manny Pacquiao and Ben Hurabalos.
Malacanang Press Corps officers met with the Presidential Communications Office to discuss concerns over new media accreditation rules. MPC raised issues over stricter requirements and vague terms that may affect press autonomy. These include a supposed definition of false reporting as grounds for revocation of access to palace coverages. Both sides committed to finding middle ground and deferred the accreditation submission period, which was supposed to be this week.
And joining us in a little bit, we hope, Storycon's resident political pundit Tito Llamas.
And from the Philippine Star, Editor-in-Chief, Ami Pamintuan. Hi, Ami.
Hi, happy Monday.
Ami, I will be Ronald Llamas today. Refreshing ang iyong Lunes. Di ba?
Parang it doesn't, parang iba eh. It doesn't land.
Iba talaga Tito Rola.
Hindi pa siya makulay hindi pa makulay eh. Meron pang pasyam eh.
Blue na blue. Oo nga no, lahat tayo naka-blue. Today is a very blue day, Blue Monday.
Yeah.
Ami.
Actually, wala ba umabot ba dyan sa inyo yung usok?
Ano?
Kasi nag-burn daw yung landfill. Kaya sumama daw yung air quality bandang Quezon City.
Oh, wait, which landfill is this?
Nag-burn yung landfill. At saka may mga parting nagkaroon ng thunderstorm ngayon, nagbaha in Metro Manila.
Yeah. Umambon sa labas eh.
Oo. Pero normally, parang sa sobrang init yata yung gano'n, parang nagkakaroon ng parang hailstorm.
Yes, that sometimes
Yung
happens.
hailstorm na version ng tropical
Yeah. Although it's kind of curious, di ba? Biglang nagkaka-hailstorm pag ng init.
Pag sobrang init. Pag sobrang init. Pero yan na nga, baka kala ko mabot dyan sa Mandaluyong eh.
But this is what I wanted to ask Ami about eh. Kasi si Ami kasi dating presidente ng Malacanang Press Corps yan. Di ba, Ami?
We were just talking about it.
Nakailang term ka ng Presidential Press Corps. Malacanang Press Corps. Nung panahon ni Cory Aquino eh. May bagong guidelines na ilalabas daw ang PCO doon sa accreditation and approval and access doon sa mga reporters and media agencies covering the President.
Yan nga, parang yun eh, dahil nga sa gulo sa politika natin, nagiging politicized siya. Nung panahon namin, ewan ko kung inabutan mo yon, nung presidente ako, ang concern lang naman namin eh yung space lang naman, kasi sobrang daming gustong mag-cover ng Malacanang eh.
Well, diba? I can imagine mas marami ngayon.
So, kung all over the Philippines, medyo i-limit mo hindi pwedeng, ewan ko kung hindi, saka wala pa naman nung ano. Ang problema ngayon, dahil merong social media,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
talagang
a big difference.
lalong dumami, di ba? So, hindi ko alam kung ano yung magiging rules nila. Noon kasi, remember ang lit-lit nung space nun kung magpe-press con eh. At ang hirap-hirap, binoykot namin nun, remember si Cory Aquino, dahil
I
ayaw
know that.
mag-press con. Oo, di ba? Parang mga bata, ano?
Don't put it that way naman.
Nagbo-boycott kami, pero nag-cover pa rin kami.
It's a way to push back,
Galit na
di
galit
ba?
na. Lahat ng editor namin galit na sa amin, pero nag-cover kami. Ayaw niya mag-press con. Oo. Eto naman, hindi sa ayaw, kundi hindi ko alam kung ano dahilan kung bakit they're tightening the registration, ano. Kasi kung aanuhin mo, baka kung ang isi-single out nila, for example, sabihin na natin, SMNI, kasi tungkol sa fake news yan eh. Medyo mahirap-hirap yung ano, that's content eh. Medyo mahirap yung gagawin nilang yan kung yan ang magiging basis.
I think some of
So,
the...
iniintay natin yung detalye.
Oo. I think this has become an issue kasi if I understood correctly, nung Friday lang ni-release yung guidelines and it was supposed to take effect today, right? April 29.
Yes.
So medyo late na, very, very last minute. Tapos pangalawa, may mga new requirements. So for instance, whoever is the journalist covering in Malacanang has to have served a tenure. Was it 5 years ba?
Well, the agency should have been in existence for 5 years.
There's two.
Supposedly.
Number one, the media outlet should have been in existence 5 years. And number two, yung journalist that they sent to Malacanang should have been
Senior.
serving for a certain number of time within that news agency. So yes, in a way, gusto nila senior reporters and may issues doon.
On the ground of supposedly because Malacanang is a premium beat, therefore you should be sending premium reporters.
But may a few issues with that kasi number one, if yung 5-year requirement for the media to have been in existence, this disqualifies all the new media out there, right?
Sabi nga nila, Newswatch, for example.
Yes, our competitors, for instance,
Yes.
Newswatch na are fully digital, but we know them to be a legitimate news agency, right?
Yeah, and if you've been vlogging for 5 years, does that make you qualified?
Ayun na nga eh.
So,
Kaya kailangan i-finesse nila yan.
And also
Kasi sa traditional media, mainstream media, talaga namang senior reporter pinapadala sa Malacanang. Not for anything, kundi napakahirap niyang bit na yan eh. There are so many issues, it has to be someone who has been doing the job for a long time. Kasi kung hindi, saka yung timing dyan, napakaraming istorya, napakaraming issue, kailangan mabilis na mabilis. Makukuha mo kagad yung istorya, mabilis ka magsulat, mabilis ka mag-present. I'm sure yan din ang requirement sa TV, broadcast.
You should be able to ask
They don't have to
questions
tell us that eh.
across a whole, a huge variety of issues from business
Yes.
to security,
Talagang
to
by necessity yan.
diplomacy, to politics.
everything under the sun.
Everything, kasi lahat ng bisita,
Yes.
kailangan, dapat sigurado kami may tatanong ka. But, again,
Talagang senior yan. Pero yung mga bagong mga media ngayon, hindi natin alam how it will apply to them.
Pero Bok, the requirement being imposed by Malacanang that they should have been covering for so many years as a reporter. I mean, that presupposes kasi na if you've been a reporter for so long, you're already a good reporter.
Galing ka.
Oo.
Oo nga.
Or that if you're a new reporter, you're a stupid reporter. Hindi ganun eh. There are old reporters who are bad reporters. There are new reporters who are good reporters. So, ito. And also, the reason given by Claire Castro, the press officer, I think today, kasi meron daw merong dating member ng press corps ng Malacanang na hindi na affiliated with her agency who is still covering there. So it's not a question of whether or not your agency has been there for enough time or whether you're a senior reporter or not. It's more of wala ka ng ahensya, ba't ka pa nandun? So that should be revoked instantly without even having to go through a new set of requirements or qualifiers or qualifications by Malacanang.
Yung agency ang ano mo dyan. Kami noon, yung accreditation sa agency, it's not to the person.
Yeah.
Hindi yung person. It's the agency.
And then it's the newsroom
Yun
who
yung
decides.
accredited. Tapos, tatanungin lang namin yung agency, sino ba accredited nyo ditong reporter? Bahala na sila doon. Whether it's a senior or a young person, bahala na sila doon.
Kasi in the end, you do not want your
Ang
sources to
i-accredit
be
mo is the
choosing who
agency.
covers
Kaya,
them.
kasi kung wala nga namang agency, tama naman yon, Ed, di ba?
Oo.
Sa bagay, yan ang problema nga
Ano
ngayon.
kinakover
Yung
niya
mga
kung wala naman
vlogger,
sa outlet?
anong agency? Oo, yan ang, wala tayo kasing ganyan noon eh.
Yeah, yeah. But yung abok, in the end, you don't want your sources to be choosing who gets to cover them eh. You don't want them to have the prerogative na gusto ko itong reporter mo cover sa akin.
Oo.
Hindi ganun yun eh.
Hindi pwede.
It's overstepping the bounds eh. It's like it's being like Trump.
Well, exactly. So that's one of the reasons then it's worrisome kasi we're seeing a rollback in, I guess, press autonomy in other parts of the world, diba? The biggest example is yung away between Associated Press and the Trump administration,
Gusto Gulf of America.
wherein Trump barred AP, which has had a position in the pool for so
They've
long.
been around for how many centuries?
Tapos, for those who don't know, they were barred from covering the White House kasi they refused to call the Gulf of Mexico
the Gulf of
America, which Trump wanted. So, kumbaga, that's already abuse of
Eh,
power.
yun talaga naman, hindi naman pwede.
Yun nga.
Kaya weird
So,
dyan talaga.
The world works in mysterious ways talaga these days.
so, sinabi ng White House very clearly, if you don't align your editorial standards, then you don't get to cover us, which is against their constitution, right? So mismo sa constitution
Aakyat yan sa
nila.
kanilang they can be challenged there in court.
Nasa
sila
korte,
dyan.
nasa korte na nga. It's making its way through the Supreme Court right now.
Yeah.
And we'll see what comes of that. Pero yun nga, it's hindi naman exactly the same, but there are similar undertones to this one, right? In that Malacanang is basically saying we're going to make it a bit tighter. We're going to make it a bit harder for newsrooms to make decisions on who to send to cover us, right? They want a bigger say.
Tingnan natin.
May president din siya here in the Philippines. Remember what happened with Rappler
Digong.
before nung panahon ni
Yeah,
Digong?
he banned Rappler.
Oo, banning Rappler and
He banned
Pierre Ñada was
Rappler
not
from
able to get in.
coverage at Malacanang.
So Pierre Ñada had to cover online.
Yes. Naban din yan. Which was lifted during the Marcos administration. Kaya tingnan natin kung anong kalalabasan na itong latest na development na to.
Okay. What do we make of former Vice President Lenny Robredo?
Yeah.
Allegedly
Ano
endorsing
ba yan? Ang gulo-gulo na.
She released a statement
natin, di na malaman,
she released a statement which appears to be a non-statement as well. Wait, teka, background ng konti. Okay, di ba she endorsed Abalos, she endorsed Manny Pacquiao, and then she thanked Erwin Tulfo for his support as DSWD when he visited her. And then more recently, let's go into how recent it was later on. More recently, she introduced Congressman Dante Marcoleta as Senator Marcoleta because he's running for Senator. So yun ang pagkakapakilala niya kay Marcoleta dun sa crowd. Ang paliwanag ni Robredo, there's more to it than meets the eye. Number one. Number two, this incident daw happened 3 weeks ago. And number three, the video was uploaded by a propagandist daw. But yun nga, all those three arguments does not really argue anything.
Ano yung there's more to it than meets the eye? Alam mo, if you're Lenny Robredo, you should understand your campaign period, di ba? Na anything you say can and will be used
against you
for political purposes. No? Di ba? Meron kang endorsement power dyan sa Naga eh. Talagang malakas na malakas siya dyan eh. Siyempre, isipin din yan. Pati nga yung, alam naman natin dito, the power of optics.
We've been trying to get Barry Gutierrez.
Senator na, hindi congressman yung exact words niya.
there you go.
Senator na, hindi congressman. So, what's that say, right?
Parang it's virtually an endorsement.
Oh, exactly. Without officially saying
endorsing,
so, without officially saying
Kaya
so.
nga.
Sabi niya
Hindi ka
panalo
naman
na to.
pwedeng joke lang dyan, Hindi ka pwede. You're appearing in public eh.
Bok,
Gino-joke ko lang kayo. Hindi mo pwede sabihin yun eh.
But I saw an argument on social media to the effect na as a matter of courtesy, you always introduce somebody by the position he's running for, which does not make sense.
Yeah.
Ganun ba yun? Ngayon ko lang marinig yun.
No, I've read it twice already. It's tradition daw. I don't know where the tradition comes from, or how come I've never heard of it before.
Ang dami ko na kinubera na government office, ngayon ko lang narinig yan.
Now you introduce a person to the crowd out of courtesy by the position he is running for.
Yung ko lang din narinig yan.
Okay.
But yun nga,
Marami na ako eleksyon na nakubera na simula pa ng panahon ni Marcos.
So, but
parang mahirap na ito i-explain, no, ng
Yeah.
side ni VP Robredo because, okay, yung first one, yung with Abalos and with Pacquiao, okay, sabi, it's a personal endorsement. It's not a party endorsement. Kahit pa magkaiba yung, whether it looks different ideologically or not, personal pa rin. Yun yung argument. This time around, how do you explain that, right? Because remember, si Marcoleta went against many of the things that she stood up for, right? He was one of the prime movers behind the closure of ABS-CBN, for instance. He Commission on Human Rights.
Yeah, with the
diba?
1,000 peso
Yes.
budget or 100 peso?
1,000 peso budget. Siya yung nag-propose noon na yung Commission on Human Rights must only have 1,000 peso budget. This was under the time of
Gascon.
si Chito.
Chito Gascon.
Chito Gascon, that's right. The late Chito Gascon. So yun nga. So maraming there's many things that go against what VP Robredo stood up for. So medyo, this one's gonna be hard to explain, I think.
Oh, anyway, our guest is waiting. Bok, sorry,
Okay.
kakambyo kami. Going back to circling back to our top story, or one of our major top stories, the alleged seizure of Sandy Cay by China. We've seen some photos from the South China Morning Post, among others.
May photos din tayo, i-run nyo rin yung photo
Our
ngayon,
own.
latest na tayo naman.
Oo.
Tayo naman na may hawak
May
na
bandera.
bandera natin.
Oo.
Yan.
Anyway, we have retired...
Pupunta na rin ako magdadala ako ng bandera ng Pilipinas.
Pupunta ka?
Magdadala din akong bandera ng Pilipinas.
Sige. Tapos mag-set up ka na ng tent. Lagyan mo doon, Philippine Star Bureau.
Philippine, talaga.
Offshore Bureau.
Possession is 9/10 of the law, ganun ba yun doon?
Hey, Bok, we have retired Coast Guard rear... hindi naman Coast Guard si Admiral Ong, alam ko Navy eh.
Retired
Navy.
Retired
Rear
Navy
Admiral.
Rear
Navy.
Admiral Romel Ong. Sir, magandang hapon. Thank you for joining us.
Magandang hapon, Ed. Magandang hapon, Regina and Ami.
Also si
Good afternoon, Admiral.
Admiral is affiliated now with the Ateneo, Ateneo Policy Center and the Ateneo School of Governance, sir. No? Sa ASOG. And he's also been conducting studies on and research on Chinese political warfare, if I remember right. Tama ba, sir?
Tama po, Ed.
Okay. Sir, anyway, nagulat kami itong weekend. Although we've been talking about Sandy Cay since last year pa, kasi I remember mga March last year, we had a team in Sandy Cay na hinaras ng Chinese helicopter at Tinaboy. So, since last year pa, we've been talking about this already, na parang it's so near Titu Island, it's also so near Subi Reef, but it's just a spit of sand. Why is this important?
It's a sandbar.
Ang importante kasi dyan, malapit siya sa Subi Reef eh. So they need to take position doon sa... Tatlo yan eh. Yung Sandy Cay 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, sir.
So importante sa kanila Right now, ang importante sa kanila is to prevent us from occupying yung tatlong features na yon. So that's why nagde-deploy sila ng militia normally doon sa loob ng lagoon. Yung lagoon is it's formed by ng Pag-asa Island tsaka nung tatlong case na yon.
But
Pero Admiral, ang bago ngayon, in-announce nung nung media nila na
Yes.
na-take over na daw nila. Bakit ganon? Saka bakit ganon at this point? Dahil kaya doon sa ongoing na balikatan?
Ang hula ko, ang estimate namin na trigger niyan is mayroon series of activities yung Coast Guard tsaka yung Bureau of Fisheries natin yata dyan sa area na yan. na involving some form of survey. So that might have triggered yung activity nila diyan. Now yung picture taking nila doon sa Sandy Cay is obviously a propaganda action. Just to show na sila may-ari nung Sandy Cay.
Okay, sir. I'm pulling up a Google Earth image of Sandy Cay and T2 Island and Subi Reef. Ito.
Kita ba sa
Tibok.
screen?
Yeah, here we go.
Ayun.
Okay.
This is T2 sa gitna, Pag-asa.
T2 is Pag-asa. Sandy Cay 1, ay ito. Sandy Cay 1 ito. Sandy Cay 2 ito. And Sandy Cay 3 is ito. Sir, I'm just looking at ito, mga 1.4 to 2 nautical miles lang layo ng T2 Islands sa Sandy Cay 1 eh. Sobrang lapit. So kumbaga, if China takes over that, we'll have overlapping territorial waters and will be eyeball to eyeball.
Well, number one, hindi ka pwede mag-claim ng territorial waters diyan.
Sa sandbar,
Sandbar lang yan eh.
Pero sir, hindi ba that was declared
legally, hindi ka pwede
high tide elevation by the arbitral ruling nung 2016?
Hindi yung kasama, I think doon sa it doesn't fit in as an habit yung island per se. Hindi siya papasa as para mag-claim ka ng 12 nautical miles out of that feature.
Yes, sir. I asked that kasi even Pag-asa is technically not an island but I also understand that Pag-asa already as a rock is entitled to 12 nautical miles di ba? Yung rocks. So, yun lang. What I understand kasi sir, but again, correct me if I'm wrong, is that there's a danger. Of course, iba pa yung Subi. Subi falls within the 12 nautical miles pero this one lang by itself, being so near Pag-asa, kumbaga will be eyeball to eyeball. At sabi nga nila pag low tide pwedeng tawarin daw to
Kung titingnan ko yung diagram, yung chart nyo dyan,
Yes, sir.
magpo-form siya ng lagoon Tapos
yes, sir.
yung entrance diyang yan is doon around the southern portion ng nung between yung Sandy Cay 1
Opo.
tsaka yung Pag-asa Island. Hindi ko alam kung binago nila, but before yung Sandy Cay 3 is the one nearest nearest Pag-asa.
Okay.
Then Sandy Cay 1 is the farthest one. So
okay.
I'm not sure kung binago nila yung
ito yung so ito dapat yung 1, 2, 3.
Yung 1 is the farthest one.
Oo, so ito yun.
Yes.
Okay.
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 But sir, yung on the same day, so sobrang conflicting yung version of events, no? So China said they planted the flag on the Sunday, tapos yung on the same day, the Philippines sent 4 teams there to do an interagency maritime operation. And yun nga, sabi nila, they were able to assess the area without issues. And there was a Chinese Coast Guard watching from a few nautical miles away, pero hindi naman daw sila hinaras. The fact that the 4 teams are able to go there without any incidents, does that prove anything in your view? Does that prove that China hasn't taken control of the Cay, the sandbar?
Well, that's a better situation compared nung panahon ko nandun ako Palawan. Kasi noon talagang kino-contest nila yan hindi ka makalapit to sa Sandy Cay without being harassed by yung militia vessels na nakapaikot dyan sa sa doon nakapwesto rin sa lagoon. So if they were to do that last April 27, yung dineploy nila yung one representative from Navy, Coast Guard, saka Maritime Police yata, basically unmolested, then that's a better situation we have now compared to previous years. So that means we have free access, uncontested access to the 3 Sandy Cays. While there is a Chinese Coast Guard na loitering around outside the lagoon, basically hindi naman siya hindi niya in-interrupt yung actions ng ating Navy, Coast Guard saka police.
Admiral, nung panahon na challenge nila kayo when you were in the active service, meron ba silang effort noon to dahil sabi niyo merong active claim sila diyan sa case na yan Meron ba silang activities noon na pwedeng pagsuspetsahan natin na balak din nilang gawin yung artificial island?
Well, nung time na yun kasi, that was at the height nung there was an attempt on our part to actually set up sort of a physical presence doon sa Sandy Cay 2. Okay. Tapos hindi siya natuloy, if you recall right. Now, because hindi na, kumbaga, naiparamdam natin yung intention natin. So, ang reaction nila was to increase yung presence nila doon to prevent us from actually trying to establish a permanent presence sa Sandy Cay 2.
Sir, I have a practical question lang, sir. I hope it's not so obvious. Pero considering it's so near Pag-asa Island, why don't we establish permanent presence on Sandy Cay? I know it's just a spit of sand and there's nothing at all there except for a mound of sand, which I suppose will be a logistical nightmare as well. Pero what's the possibility or probability of establishing a presence there? Considering that we're both claiming it already. Nagtatayon tayo ng bandera eh.
Posible yun. Actually, there was an attempt to do that. Kaya lang at the last minute, tinigil yung yung operation yung mission . Kaya nga sinasabi ko, the original plan was mag-set up ng parang kubo lang actually yun .
Kubo.
Reinforced by concrete diyan sa Sandy Cay 2 kasi yan yung pinakamalaki .
Yes, sir.
At saka yan yung pinaka-farthest area from Pag-asa.
Like for example, sir, container van. Nakaisip na.
Admiral, bakit tinigil? Bakit hindi natin tinuloy?
Hindi, pinastop yun ni That was during the previous administration.
Nung Duterte, sir?
Napagplanuhan na yun, then actually, andun na, ready na to, ready to set up na. Last minute, pinatigil na. So, nag-abort kami.
To be clear,
Anong time yon? Anong year yon, Admiral, under the Duterte administration?
I think that would be around 2017.
Okay.
2017,
That's a year after
matagal
the
na.
arbitral.
Right.
Oh. Sir, what was the reason, sir? What was the reason bakit hindi pinatuloy? Sir, can you hear me, sir?
I was not privy to the reason. So,
Yes, sir. But the plan,
Hello.
sir, yes, sir, we can hear you now, sir. But, sir, tell me lang if I'm getting this right, but the plan was to put up some sort of permanent structure?
Permanent
would that be
presence.
right? Would that be
Yung
right
kubo.
phrase for it? A permanent structure there on Sandy Cay?
The way we designed it is parang a mix of yung kubo tsaka concrete. Tapos prefabricated na siya, parang itutusok mo na lang yung yung apat na corners noon . Parang mabilisan.
Oo. Kubo and concrete. Okay.
Magiging siya, Admiral, military outpost.
Parang detachment. Yung nakikita mo sa bundok.
Parang detachment.
Yes, sir.
Parang detachment. Hindi siya yung research. Kasi later nagkaroon tayo ng mga activities dyan for marine research. Hindi siya for marine research.
Masyado siyang maliit na area.
Okay.
And is the idea to station somebody there as a detachment? Or
Yun yung plano. But of course, yun nga, hindi natuloy.
okay. Pero the idea was, okay, build a permanent structure,
Tapos
station somebody there, may
taong bahay.
magbabantay, may taong bahay, 24/7, ganon. That was the idea.
Correct.
Okay.
Kasi malapit lang naman siya sa malapit lang siya
Yes.
sa Pag-asa. Supportable siya. 24/7, supportable siya. Of course, ibang usapan na yung pag pinasukan nila ng militia ron sa lagoon, medyo challenging na yung sustainability nun.
Pwedeng harangan, kumbaga. Kasi entirely dependent siya dun sa Pag-asa Island for everything. I'd imagine. Okay.
So ano yung what's the implications, Admiral, if we were to try building a new structure now, a permanent structure now? What do you think at this point in time? Kasi okay, pinatigil ng previous administration. This administration has been in power for 3 years now. So far, hindi na There's been no talk about restarting that?
Ang nakita kong ano dito is legal eh. Yung kasi we covered by the 2002 Code of Conduct, which is one of the provisions on is no new structures or no new features to be occupied. So baka you might be in violation of that 2002 declaration ng Code of Conduct eh. And secondly, it might be considered escalatory
Oo nga eh.
by all parties, not only yung China, no, but all other parties involved, na we put up something or we install something on a new feature. If you remember, wala namang claimant countries na nag-set up ng new facility in areas outside of what they currently occupy. So everybody actually still complies with the 2002 agreement.
2002, marami nang ginawang artificial island yung mga Chinese din, di ba?
And I think also,
After 2002.
and I think
Yes,
Vietnam also, right? Vietnam has been island building.
Yeah,
That is correct.
they've
But
been.
occupied na nila yan ever since. In-improve lang nila. Even for China. Occupied na nila yan noon pa. Before 2002, occupied na.
2002.
Well, sir, yung mischief, sir, pero yung Subi, was Subi already occupied by China?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mischief lang ang natatandaan ko eh.
They occupied Mischief before 2002. That's
Yes, sir,
around
1995.
late
Yes.
1990.
Oh, yun lang ang natatandaan namin.
Pero
Yes.
yung Subi, sir, yung Subi, did they have presence there before?
Yes, before, yeah. Mga original yan eh.
Okay. Okay. Sir, tapos ano, sir? Kasi I suppose yung trigger for the plan noong 2017 to occupy Sandy Cay was yung arbitral ruling. Kasi if I remember right, yung 2016 arbitral ruling stated na Sandy Cay is a high tide elevation, which basically meant that it can be occupied or it can be owned by any country. Kasi nga it's like a rock already. It's a high tide elevation eh. Was that the reason kung bakit in 2017 there was that plan that was drafted by... Sino ba sa nag-draft ng plan? Was it Navy or was it DND or Malacanang?
Well, yung civil engineering tsaka tactical plan, sa level ng Palawan lang yan, Naval Forces. But the decision or the approval, of course, sa higher level yon, sa level na ng executive. Now, if I recall right, yung trigger dyan actually was before there was a decision to actually consider setting up a permanent facility, there was an increase in Chinese presence of militia and Coast Guard around Pag-asa, particularly around dito sa Sandy Cay. Kasi yung Sandy Cay was not part of the narrative before eh.
Yes, sir.
Kumbaga, it was not, wala yan sa radar ng
Yes, sir. Kasi
natin.
it was often underwater eh.
Yes. But before that, there was this increase, we noticed an increased interest by China dito sa tatlong Sandy Cay. In fact, there were incidents na naglanding sila ron to, naglagay sila ng tao ron to survey yung Sandy Cay over extended period. So, yun yung trigger doon kung bakit, nung nakita natin parang may interest sila doon sa Sandy Cay, nagkaroon tayo ng decision to plan for yung putting up a permanent structure doon sa one of the Sandy Cays. In this case, it was Sandy Cay 2.
Ito nga sir, as early as 2024, si Jonathan Malaya was saying na there have been reports of dumping of dead corals dun sa Sandy Cay to build it up to make it clearly a high tide elevation which can be claimed by a country. So, I suppose din ang hugot nun eh. Kaya parang lumalaki yung isla, hindi lumiliit.
Correct. Yung Sandy Cay 2 kasi, if you look at it now, compared it, let's say yung 3, 4, 5 years ago, medyo mas maliit pa nun. But of course, you cannot differentiate between yung tidal action at saka yung deliberate.
Oh yes, sir.
Deliberate putting up of sand doon sa area na yun. Kasi both can be the reason
That's
bakit
also correct.
lumaki siya.
Or baka yung activity nila dun sa Subi Reef could also be the source of some of the dead corals going to Sandy Cay.
Correct, oo.
Sir, so what's next? What should we be doing?
The minimum we can do is constant patrol based from Pag-asa, ipatrol yung lagoon. Just to yung show presence and and from time to time we can put people doon sa Sandy Cay. Hindi naman permanent yung parang lang part of the regular patrol, dadaong doon sa Sandy Cay, then balik din ng Pag-asa.
But we should not, from your perspective, we should not put somebody there permanently without violating the Declaration of Code of Conduct?
Sa akin, wala ko nakitang tactical value of by putting, i-compare mo yung, yung risk I-manage mo yung risk doon titingnan mo, what advantage do I gain by putting a permanent structure doon? Ano yung risk of escalation by doing so? Kasi it's so near Pag-asa Island, it can easily be patrolled and from Pag-asa Island.
Admiral, do we have the resources in terms of both people and boats to patrol and to monitor another feature in the West Philippine Sea 24/7, do you think?
Ay ginagamit lang diyan noon rubber boat Tapos yung outrigger. In fact, what we did noon was have around yung yung bangka, normal na bangka. Pinalagay namin doon sa Pag-asa para yun yung gamitin ng mga tropa pang patrolya. Kasi mas cost effective yun Yung rubber boat kasi minsan nabubutasan yun. So it affects yung usability niya.
So in your view, kahit rubber boats lang for now, hindi kailangan ng full Navy patrol vessels?
Pwede ka maglagay ng mag-angkla doon with the way they do similar to what they're doing. Nag-aangkla sila ng militia vessel doon. Pwede rin nating angklahan ng barko doon sa loob ng lagoon. That more or less parang medyo semi-permanent yun. The other one is what I said earlier, you can patrol it by rubber boat from Pag-asa Island.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir, last
Di
na,
ba
sir.
pwedeng gawing fishing area? Di ba siya pwedeng gawing fishing area natin? Masyado nang malayo.
Pwede rin actually. In fact, I think there was a plan before.
Parang daungan lang siya.
Maglagay diyan yung BFAR ng parang ice facility.
Yes.
Ice facility.
BFAR.
Pero I'm not sure kung natuloy yun. Parang hindi
Tsaka, sir,
There
yung
was a
kuryente.
plan like that. Na?
Paano yung kuryente ng ganun?
Generator. May generator naman. Although, hindi nga sustainable actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Sir, last question, sir. Pabo lang. So we're not concerned that China would possibly take over the island? I know there's a declaration of code of conduct and all that, but walang concern na China would just jump in and put somebody there?
Well, that should be a point of concern, yung declaration. That means meron silang specific interest doon sa Sandy Cay. So kaya nga sinabi ko, the only one way to mitigate that specific interest na yun is increase mo yung patrol doon sa area. Kasi that's, kumbaga, show mo yung flag natin na that is ours or that is an extension of the Pag-asa Island. And the reason why atin yan is we are able to patrol yung area na yan from Pag-asa. At the end of the day kasi ang labanan yan presence Parang meron kang property tapos hindi mo naman inoccupy. Somebody will occupy it for you.
Oo nga, sir.
Parang illegal settlers din, Okay, we'll leave that there. Thank you so much for
Thank you, sir.
your answers and your insights today. That was retired Navy Rear Admiral Romel Ong.
Maraming salamat,
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Admiral.
You are watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
We've got developing news and the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
And I'm Regina Lay, still with us. Aming Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
And in spirit.
wala today. But anyways, we're talking all things defense and sovereignty and security.
I'm saying surprise, surprise. May ganun palang plano yung 2017.
Na na-scrap.
Oo, magtatayo ng
Permanent structure.
concrete with kubo. Sabi ko,
Although considering kung sino yung considering yung embrace ni President Duterte sa China, it's not surprising, Although nakakaano lang, hindi natin nabalitaan.
Di ba, Beijing already said that during Duterte's time, there was a provisional agreement na status quo. Remember?
Yeah, but
nobody construct anything anywhere.
But even going beyond that kasi,
Except
2002 pa
them.
naman yung declaration of
Except them.
Declaration of
Conduct.
sa South China Sea na walang gagalaw, walang mag-occupy ng bagong ano. But yung, we were talking kanina, Regina, na parang kung ma-istasyon ka nga doon noong 2017 sa isang kubo na gawa sa konkreto tsaka konting nipa, parang napakalungkot na ng buhay mo.
Mahirap.
Ayan naman ang ginawa nila. Remember, sa Mischief Reef, ganyan ang ginawa nila. Remember, it started with those octagonal huts.
That's true.
Nasabi ng China were for fishermen of all countries, sabi nila. Di ba?
That's true.
Fishermen's shelter. Ngayon, tingnan nyo doon, meron na airstrip doon. It's a
Airbase na siya.
military
Ilang
base.
airstrip.
Airbase na.
Airbase
May
na.
It's a
military.
military base.
It's a military
They
base.
can deploy
Exactly.
submarines from there.
Oo. It's a full island now. A full military outpost.
Yeah.
But the difference between that,
Kaya nga.
between this one and Mischief Reef is that nung panahon ng Mischief Reef in 1995, we were not blocking China's activities
Yes.
in Mischief Reef. We were just complaining about it because we didn't have the power to do anything about it. We just sent reporters there with
Tinatanong natin
cameras.
sila kung ano yan. Di ba? Tapos meron pa nga argumento nun, hindi pwedeng gawing island dyan kasi kapag high tide, nagdi-disappear yung reef. Di ba meron ganung mga usapan nun? Talaga,
The powers of reclamation.
Oo.
oh.
Well,
Tapos,
yeah. On the bright side, the DND is continuing to strengthen ties with other countries. So this week, we're signing a status of visiting forces agreement with New Zealand.
Yes.
Right? So that makes it 4. So the U.S. obviously is the oldest one, 1989. Australia was in 2007. Japan was last year, pero hindi siya technically VFA, it's an RAA, Reciprocal Access
mas
Agreement.
matindi yung sa ano.
Oo, pero more or less it's the same principle, right? So and then we also know that they're working on a VFA with Canada then. And then yun nga, this week they're signing one with New Zealand, and the New Zealand Defense Minister Judith Collins is coming here to sign that. And then also tomorrow, the Japanese Prime Minister
Japanese.
Ishiga sorry,
Ishiba.
his first name escapes me. Pero the Japanese Prime Minister is visiting tomorrow to talk all things defense and economic ties
Ang
as
inintay ko
well.
na lang is a VFA with China.
Okay.
Di
I
mo
wouldn't
kailangan
hold
yun
my
kasi
breath
punta lang
for
sila
that.
ng punta, di ba?
Total, they're always visiting our
Punta lang ng
EEZ.
punta.
So might
Before we
as
had this
well.
argument, we actually had exchanges with them, Before, talaga nag-exchange tayo
Yeah,
nun.
yeah.
Especially law enforcement kasi meron tayong police, merong medyo malapit yung ano natin noon, law enforcement cooperation with them. Dahil napakarami nga ng mga krimen dito na galing sa mga Chinese triads, saka kung saan, Hong Kong, na nagko-cooperate naman sila. Ngayon lang tayo nagkaroon ng ganyang yan ang problema.
Oh, it makes sense because nakita naman natin with the case of Alice Guo, for instance, there's a lot of, in the Pogos, diba?
Yeah.
There's a lot of room for cooperation talaga when it comes to
Cooperation.
transnational crime. Pero yun nga, it's I don't know if this territorial issue will be resolved in our lifetime, sa totoo lang. Because
Yes.
it's so...
May suggestion
Bakit
si
naman? Bata pa
former
naman tayo.
Justice. Yung suggestion ni former Justice Antonio Carpio, inulit niya ngayong araw na we should take China na to the International Court of Justice. Yan ang suggestion niya ngayon. Dahil sa mga ganyang pangyayari, so titingnan natin kung ano yung reaction kasi sinabi niya ngayon, we'll wait for a reaction from our officials. Sa ngayon, lahat nagdi-deny Lahat nagdi-deny na tinake over ng China.
Oo nga eh. Pero it's medyo nakakatakot din, right?
At the very least, it's an
It's
expression of interest.
significant na
Extreme
in-announce
interest.
Oo. Tsaka sa
It's
state
significant that it was announced by their
State media.
Yun na nga,
state-backed
exactly.
media.
Exactly. Sa CCTV mismo lumabas, which is their state broadcaster. That's what's scary
Yes.
about this.
Walang lalabas dyan na walang approval ng Beijing . So bakit ganon? Kaya tinatanong ko, baka naman tinatimingan lang yung balikatan kasi pinasok yan Nemesis kasi ngayon .
Ano kaya maglagay na lang
Correct
din
ko
ng
lang sarili ko, the name of the Japanese Prime Minister is His Excellency Ishiba Shigeru. So he will be here tomorrow
Ishiba Shigeru.
at saka Wednesday to meet with
Yes.
President Bongbong Marcos. My apologies for that. Nakalimutan ko yung first name, but Prime Minister Ishiba Shigeru. Sorry, Ed.
And defense cooperation is high on their agenda. Tayo unang-unang recipient ng Japanese official defense aid assistance.
Oo.
Official defense assistance.
Oo.
Pilipinas ang unang-una nun.
Actually, Japan
Yeah.
is stepping up, right? It's also
Yeah.
talking to South Korea, for instance. Di ba matagal na ties were strained for a long, long time over, the
A lot.
transgressions during the war. Pero now, because of the Trump administration, parang old enemies have become allies. Parang they're talking. Okay,
Because old friends have become enemies.
bumaliktad na. Bumaliktad na because now they have to rewrite the trade routes, right? Now everyone has to rewrite economic alliances. Para na.
Pero kung ano talaga gising ni Trump, ngayon inaaway naman niya si Putin naman.
So, mukhang no?
Kampilan niya uli si Zelensky.
Nag-meet sila sa
Kampilan niya uli si
Vatican.
Zelensky.
Oo.
Yeah. Oo. Hindi siya sinunod eh. Sinabi niya kasi, Vladimir, stop. Hindi siya sinunod. Kaya nagalit siya.
But
Anong problema
kasi magkalapit yung pangalan nila Vladimir and Volodymyr.
Vladimir, stop. Sinasabi ko na nga ba, hindi susunod eh. Sinabi niya.
Oh, anyway,
Okay.
let's call it a day because we still have a whole week ahead.
We're gonna leave that there.
Oo
Thank you
nga.
so much for joining Storycon today. I'm Pamintuan, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Join us again tomorrow, 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News all the time.